Hello everyone and welcome back to LewisNews, your #1 YouTube channel for all types of Spider-Man news. I just want to apologize for being on a hiatus for around a month or so. I've had uni finals, so I haven't been able to cover the news. Obviously, if you guys have been watching my other channel, Lewis Films, you'll know that we've been covering the news over there. But we're back on this channel to cover the news, and we've got some really big news today. In fact, Amy Pascal has confirmed that a live-action Miles Morales-based Spider-Man movie is in development. This is probably some of the biggest piece of news that we've actually gotten in the last year or so, and there are a lot of questions that need answering. Specifically, what universe is it going to be in? Is it going to be any universe, and what other movies is it going to connect to? Is it going to have any relevance to the Spider-Verse movies? What is going on? But before we get into that, make sure you're subscribed. We're so close to 1,000 subscribers, and if you want to keep up to date with everything Spider-Man, this is the channel for you. With that being said, let's get straight into it. So, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, as we know, is coming out in June. In fact, when this video comes out, it probably is already out. And it is tracking $150 million on its opening weekend, which is half, if you guys didn't know, of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse's overall worldwide gross, which is absolutely unbelievable. Which means that in the first couple of days of this movie being out, it is going to basically make half of what Into the Spider-Verse did in its entire runtime of being out, which is absolutely incredible for a movie to do that, especially as a sequel, because sequels sometimes tend to not do as much as the first movie. Either way, we have gotten a movie that is popularizing Miles Morales as a character. Yes, Miles has become popular from Into the Spider-Verse, but when that movie first came out, it didn't really gross a lot of money. I tend to say that a lot of people didn't really realize how good the movie was until after it came out, or at least after it was out of cinemas. But now people start to realize how good that movie actually was and how good of a character Miles Morales is. This movie is pushing Miles Morales to the next level. And along with the Insomniac games as well, Miles Morales is becoming a very popular character. And I reckon that is why Sony Pictures have held off making a live-action Miles Morales movie for such a long time. And I do reckon that this Miles Morales movie that is now in development will actually be in the Sonyverse. I know a lot of people are maybe mentioning that this movie could potentially be in the MCU, and Miles Morales could run alongside Peter Parker. And while that could still be a possibility, I don't reckon that's the case. As we do know, the Sonyverse has been looking for a Spider-Man for such a long time. As we know, last year, negotiations with Andrew Garfield after the success of Spider-Man No Way Home, and how the fans wanted him to return as the character, were in development. We knew that Andrew Garfield was having talks with Sony Pictures about coming back as Spider-Man. Obviously, unfortunately, those negotiations fell through, and Andrew Garfield probably isn't ever coming back as Spider-Man unless it's in Secret Wars or whatever. But either way, he was set to be the Sonyverse Spider-Man. But now, since he is not going to be the Sonyverse Spider-Man, I reckon their plan B was for it to be Miles Morales. However, Miles Morales at the time seemed like a bit of a risk, with obviously the financial implications of Into the Spider-Verse only grossing $300 million worldwide. Financially, Miles Morales isn't as dependable as Peter Parker as a character. However, due to how Across the Spider-Verse is tracking, and as soon as that news dropped that it was tracking $150 million at its opening weekend, and with the popularity of Miles Morales as a character from those movies and the Insomniac games, Sony Pictures and Amy Pascal have now revealed that they are working on a live-action Miles Morales solo movie, which I don't think is a coincidence, since how well Across the Spider-Verse seems to be doing in the media, and how the promo is going really well for it, and how it's tracking to have a massive opening weekend. I think Sony are now realizing the popularity behind Miles Morales, and are now cashing in on a massive financial gain for a live-action version of the character, which is no surprise, but that's why I reckon it will be in the Sonyverse. Yes, I do reckon that this movie will be set in the Sonyverse. We know Sony doesn't have a live-action Spider-Man because they've been holding out on getting a Spider-Man for so long. Like I said, they were having negotiations with Andrew Garfield, so they have probably been waiting to basically finalize a deal with whichever actor they want to go with, and then introduce them to the Sonyverse. So it looks like Miles Morales could be the Spider-Man of the Sonyverse, and this works out perfectly because they can have their cake and eat it too. They can have Miles Morales as the Spider-Man in the Sonyverse, and they can have Peter Parker be the Spider-Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which works out perfectly. You get both Spider-Men, you get both characters, you get two different universes, and you get to cash in on two different franchises. So I think it's a win-win for Sony, and that's why I reckon it'll be in the Sonyverse. Likewise, it could be in the MCU, but obviously Disney also does get a cut of the profits, so I reckon Sony do want their own character in their own universe too. But with that being said, that is pretty much it for the news today. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. That is just my opinion on why they haven't revealed a live-action Miles Morales movie as to this day. I do reckon they have held out to see how well Across the Spider-Verse is tracking to do, just because purely, I think, Miles Morales is a fairly new character to comic books, and obviously he isn't as popular as Peter Parker, especially to the casual audiences. But since now, Miles Morales is hitting the mainstream, he is an A-list superhero character now, I think it's definitely time to cash in on that live-action Miles Morales movie. Either way, thank you very much for watching. Make sure to subscribe. We're so close to 1,000 subscribers, as I mentioned at the start of the video. Let's try and get there before summer. That would be absolutely awesome. Make sure to hit the bell so you do not miss any more Spider-Man news. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care, and peace.